So, the Draw quest has recently added the last word into Destiny 2. For those who played D1, this is pretty exciting stuff. Not only was the last word one of the top tier hand cannons in that game for a time, but it was also one of, if not the, most unique and fun weapon to use in the Crucible. Personally, its fun factor was basically the reason I played PvP as much as I did. Now, it did get nerfed and bumped out of the meta after year 1, but it never became an inherently bad gun. It was always usable, but most likely never your best option. Now that it's in D2, has it returned to form with its ability to 2-tap while ADS? No it hasn't. Was Bungie scared of bringing it back as OP so they nerfed it to the ground? No, it definitely has its uses. So it's basically exactly how it was at the end of D1 then. Well, also no. Bungie made the executive decision to go ahead and sort of rework the last word. Sure, it looks the same and fanfire is the same and still has the best equip animation of any gun ever, but there's no denying that it feels fundamentally different. The insane amount of recoil is one of the things definitely contributing to this change. Before, the gun had a lot of recoil, sure, but it was the predictable D1 recoil that allowed you to still hit your target, even if your sights weren't centered as long as you knew where the bullets were actually going to hit. It took some time to get used to, but once you did, it felt like a reliable and rewarding method of landing your shots on your enemies. Now, this just isn't the case. The gun kicks hard, and I'll gladly eat my words if someone can send a clip of themselves effectively using the last word the same way it was used in D1. Instead, it's clear Bungie wanted to put an emphasis on hipfire without bringing back the unbalanceable damage buff it gave in year 1. Now, the gun is just really good at hipfiring. There's an extremely manageable amount of reticle movement, and the reworked perk that improves hipfire accuracy as you land shots makes it so you can track people at a distance fairly easily. Now I want to come out and say that I don't dislike the new last word. I played with it for a couple of hours now, and I'll admit that I've had fun. It's been nice to use my favorite weapon in the Destiny series in a whole new game and meta after all this time, but there's an underlying problem that I think is more far-reaching than just Destiny. The last word is nothing new. Sure, those who played D1 can say it is, but I think a good chunk of Bungie's audience has already experienced what this weapon has to offer. They've also confirmed that Thorn is returning in Season of the Drifter, which shows that they're continually willing to resurrect old content. In my opinion, as much as I love the last word and nostalgia, I would prefer that Bungie tries to put their manpower into new ideas. Now, this isn't going to be a rant about how Bungie is lazy and uses old stuff so they don't have to make new stuff, because that's just not true. One returning exotic weapon out of the 5 we've gotten this season is completely acceptable, but that still doesn't change what I'm about to say. You see, the reason the last word in Thorn and insert cool weapon or armor here is so memorable is because they were new when they came out. Nothing performed like these weapons when they were introduced, and people latched onto them for that fact. They oozed creativity and allowed for cool interactions and stories. I remember I completed my entire Thorn bounty solo in one night sitting because I was not about to wait to use a gun that cool and that good. There's been glimpses of this in D2 as well. 1K Voices, Anarchy, and Luna's Howl / Not Forgotten are weapons that do things that we've never seen before, and they've made a name for themselves for that reason. But I think the fact that Bungie is still bringing back these old weapons and people are clamoring for them is stunting their creativity. Like I mentioned before, this problem isn't exclusive to Destiny. I feel as though the entire games industry is struggling with this, with remakes becoming ever more popular, games like Black Ops 4 being praised for being not much more than a hodgepodge of all the previous games, and new genre-creating IPs becoming less common. It's a trend that's been going on for a while now, and its effects are just starting to become apparent to me. I'm worried that games like Anthem that just take a gameplay loop from another series and make it look different will become the norm. Tying this back into Destiny, I just hope we don't lose the creative innovating that made the series so appealing in exchange for mere nostalgia that often leads to disappointment. So, as a final message to the last word, I'll quote a mediocre music artist by saying, "Thank you. Please go back to the way things were before because change is scary and the thank you. Next."
Separate ways, 'cause lately I don't feel the